Hello everyone, all good? Welcome everyone to the Popcorn Session channel. In today's movie, we will portray the state of Spain, which has been facing an extreme shortage of resources for 17 months. It's not just Spain. Several other countries are also grappling with the same issue. In an attempt to resolve this matter, the government initiates a terrible and inhumane scarcity movement by capturing all pregnant women and children to reduce the population. We then see a couple named Mia and Nico, who plan to escape from Spain through an illegal route. Mia is pregnant, and Nico makes this bold decision to prevent Mia from being captured by the government. After paying a sum of money and his wedding ring, Mia and Nico manage to enter a container with several other people who also intend to escape from this government's vile act. Most people in the container are pregnant women or families with children. The plan is for this container to take them to the port and then send them to Ireland through a maritime route. During the journey, Nico touches Mia's belly to check the baby's condition. Mia mentions that she hasn't felt the baby's kicks for 2 days, which worries her. However, Nico reassures Mia that their baby will certainly be born safely. Shortly after, the container abruptly stops. Several more people enter the container, and its owner orders them to split up, instructing half of them to disembark and get into another container. Unfortunately, Nico is among those ordered to disembark, separating him from his wife. Mia, frightened and in tears, watches as Nico enters another green container with the number 107. He quickly calls Mia and reassures her, saying he will do everything to reunite with her, affirming that they can meet after they reach the southern port. During the journey towards the port, the container passed through chaotic streets due to the ongoing crisis. It was hit by gunfire multiple times, causing holes in various parts. Through these holes, Mia saw many pregnant women and children being forcibly detained by the police. The container, known as Nowhere, carrying Mia, stopped at a checkpoint where the police would inspect the container as it was passing through the streets to ensure that no one was crossing the port illegally. Fortunately, the container was designed with 2 compartments so that the police couldn't see the hidden people. However, the police, already suspecting this, fired at what was supposed to be the back of the container, and the inspector outside observed where the shot came out, confirming and discovering that there were indeed people hidden inside. They were thus uncovered, and the inspection leader said he knew they were there, telling them to come out. He promised not to harm them and said they would take them to a safe place. None of the passengers dared to reveal themselves, and with some boxes on the side where they were, they chose to climb on top of them and hide, not trusting those words. No one responded for a few seconds, and just before the guy ordered them to fire without a choice, one of the women opened the door. However, this turned out to be a terrible trap because the villains shot and killed everyone who was inside, including the children. After this cruelty and another demonstration of human irrationality, the container was cleaned and then sent to continue its journey, with only Mia surviving. She immediately sent a message to Nico, asking him to hide because she didn't want to lose him. The cargo continued its journey and finally arrived at the southern port. The container, along with several others, was loaded onto a ship and would be sent to Ireland. Up to that point, Mia had continued trying to contact Nico but had not received a response. As night fell, the cargo ship was shaken by a strong storm in the middle of the ocean. Inside the container, Mia screamed for help, but no one could hear her. Unfortunately, the ship's officers couldn't rescue everyone in time, and some containers ended up falling into the sea due to the increasingly violent shakes. This incident caused Mia's container to be tossed, and she lost consciousness from a heavy impact. A few hours later, Mia woke up with the container beginning to flood due to water seeping through the small holes. She looked through the opening and could only see the vast ocean and some containers that were nearly submerged. Now, Mia was trapped inside a container and would have to survive until help arrived. Shortly after, Mia saw the green container with the number 107 slowly sinking, and she heard the cries of the people inside. Mia panicked, worried about Nico's safety, as she still couldn't contact him. As the day darkened, Mia began to lose her will to survive. She picked up a folding knife nearby and planned to end it all right there. But then her stomach moved, indicating that her baby was still alive despite all the misfortune. This changed Mia's mind, and she chose to survive. The next day, determined to survive inside that container, Mia began gathering the objects that were there, including 2 bottles of water, a flashlight, a lighter or an iron rod, and some other items. Shortly after, to her surprise and joy, Mia received a call from Nico. He was still alive. the driver transporting the container he was in had deceived them and left them outside the city after hearing what happened to the container Mia was in. Nico asked Mia to stay calm and promised to rescue her soon. On the following night, Mia's container was hit by a storm with strong winds. She fought with all her might, but to make matters worse, it seemed she would give birth in the midst of the storm. Soon, the time for childbirth arrived, and Mia found herself in a dire situation with no medical equipment or any assistance. She would have to give birth alone. In those terribly adverse circumstances, the baby was born in the darkness and cold. Mia was scared, thinking the baby might not have been born alive, but soon the baby started crying, much to her relief. However, she would face a significant challenge ahead. With no medical supplies available, alone in those conditions and without food, she would need to be very strong and resourceful to survive along with her baby.
It's the third day that Mia has been inside that container, and the first day with her baby who cries incessantly, likely due to hunger. However, Mia was struggling to get her baby to latch and breastfeed. When the baby calms down a bit, she goes to eat to ensure she can produce milk. But as soon as she returns, the baby starts crying again, and once more, Mia can't get the baby to latch. She notices the drill she had found earlier and gets the idea to drill through the ceiling. Mia does this, but her baby cries uncontrollably, causing her to panic as she can't make the baby stop crying. It's only after a while and persistent attempts that Mia manages to get her baby to latch, bringing some relief in the midst of their dire situation. After feeding and resting for a while, Mia resumes drilling through the ceiling. However, at one point, with the battery running low and close to being depleted, the drill becomes unusable, leaving Mia frustrated and losing hope that it would work. After this, Mia attempts to turn on one of her two cell phones. The larger one does turn on, but with its screen heavily damaged, she can't access it. This greatly frustrates her, and she begins to throw things in anger, but soon stops. She notices a multi-tool in one of the containers, which includes a mini saw. Mia then starts to slowly saw through what remains to create a hole in the container's roof. With her hand all calloused and sore, Mia tends to her baby, who was crying due to the intense heat in the container. As night falls, and after a long time without eating, Mia gets up to see if she can find something, but only comes across the container where she had placed her placenta. Desperate and very hungry, she decides to eat it. Suddenly, she hears a strange sound from outside. She looks through one of the holes, but is startled as something advances towards the container. She grabs her daughter and, with a piece of wood, strikes the walls to ward off whatever is causing the disturbance outside. Moments later, everything falls silent, and Mia becomes calmer. By dawn, marking the 6th day she has been there, Mia has nearly completed the sawing work on the roof when her saw breaks and her water supply runs out. She considers drinking the seawater inside the container. However, she notices that there are condensation droplets forming on the container's roof. She attempts to quench her thirst by licking the condensed water droplets on the ceiling. Moments later, Mia is napping while sitting next to one of the boxes when a paper airplane lands on her. In the back of the container, a little girl appears and approaches her. It's clear that this is just a hallucination for Mia, but it appears to be her daughter. The little girl asks why Mia allowed them to shoot her. Mia apologizes, and the girl walks away, disappearing into the darkness. Shortly after, Nico appears, comforting Mia and telling her it wasn't her fault. A few hours later, Mia is awakened by drops falling on her. It's raining, and Mia quickly grabs various containers to use as receptacles and store water. Mia, now recovered from exhaustion, takes a belt from one of the boxes, fastens it to the already cut part of the iron, and starts pulling. Her effort pays off, and she finally manages to open a hole, giving her a view of the sky, which makes her very happy. However, the challenges are far from over. As Mia looks out at the surrounding sea, she spends some time outside the container. While changing her baby's clothes, she notices fish nearby and, feeling very hungry, she improvises a makeshift harpoon to catch some for food. Unfortunately, after many attempts, she isn't successful. Mia sees a plane passing overhead and quickly descends to find something reflective to signal with. However, in her desperation, she injures her thigh when she climbs back up. Despite the injury, she still emits a signal in the hope of being seen. She returns inside the container, stitches her wound to prevent infection, using the filaments from several earphones she found in one of the containers. During the night, Mia improvises a fishing net using more of these earphone wires, and at dawn, she goes fishing. This time, she is successful and finally catches something to eat, even though it's raw. On the 9th day, Mia continues to collect water through the hole to delay it from filling up to where her baby is. She also writes some SOS messages and stores them in containers to be released into the sea, hoping that someone will eventually find them. 3 more days pass, and the arduous struggle continues. Later, Mia talks to her baby and shows her some photos of their family, expressing her sorrow for being far from them. She recounts how she lost her daughter during the onset of the cruel population reduction regime. They had to stay locked inside their house, but after a while, her daughter couldn't bear being cooped up in such a small space. Mia eventually gave in to her daughter's pleas and allowed her to go out for just 5 minutes, which unfortunately was enough for her to be seen and taken from her parents. Mia still blames herself for the tragedy that occurred. During that early morning, Mia's baby becomes very cold, prompting Mia to quickly improvise a small flame inside a thermos using alcohol to warm them both. After that, they go to sleep. Meanwhile, the container continues to drift aimlessly in the vast ocean. Sometime later, Mia is awakened by something banging on the container. She goes to investigate, taking her baby with her, and upon looking outside, she discovers it's just one of the containers she had thrown into the sea. Suddenly, her cell phone gets a signal, and her husband calls. Unfortunately, he has to deliver sad news. He explains that he couldn't escape safely and was wounded. He's now hiding in another container, losing a lot of blood, and therefore, he won't be able to save her.
Mia is heartbroken, but amid her sadness, she tells Nico that their daughter is alive and surviving with her. She lets Nico talk to their daughter, and he expresses his love, assuring her that no matter what happens, her mother will always be with her. Mia finally reveals the name she gave to their daughter, Noah. Unfortunately, the call ends, leaving Mia in tears with little hope of seeing her husband again. But a few more days pass, and now on the 26th day, with the water inside the container reaching its limit, Mia is outside planning an improvised raft for them to continue their journey. She has also prepared one for her baby. Mia sees a seagull and realizes that they aren't too far from solid land. Later, at night, a hole in the container causes water to enter more quickly. Fearing the worst, Mia decides to grab some things she had left inside. Suddenly, the container starts sinking faster, leaving her in a state of panic. She gets her leg caught in some of the safety straps from the container's boxes and becomes stuck. Fortunately, she uses her knife to cut the strap, allowing her to escape from inside. However, when she reaches the surface, she realizes that Noah is drifting away from her and she has no idea in which direction. Suddenly, a massive whale passes underneath Mia, terrifying her, but the whale simply swims by. Mia continues to call for her daughter, but the baby remains calm. Then, something incredible happens. The large whale approaches Noah, and by spouting water upwards, it inadvertently splashes her, causing her to cry. Mia, hearing the cry, immediately heads in its direction, reuniting with her daughter. At dawn, already fainting, she tosses some fish into the water to attract more seagulls, as a last desperate attempt to signal for help. Fortunately, it doesn't take long for Mia to see the birds approaching. This becomes a sign for anyone passing nearby. At some point during the day, a boat with a family on board notices the birds in the distance. They become suspicious and approach to investigate. They find only the raft and pull it onto their boat. Inside, they discover Noah, a surprising and puzzling find for them. They wonder how the baby ended up there. The woman notices a rope made of thread sinking into the sea and quickly pulls it. To her surprise, Mia is brought back to the surface, but she has no strength left and slips into unconsciousness, nearly drowning. The couple retrieves Mia from the water, and the woman attempts to resuscitate her. With no response, she contemplates giving up, but upon seeing Noah crying, she insists on trying to save her again. Fortunately, Mia returns to life, and the couple is relieved. Mia then takes Noah and celebrates their rescue, overjoyed to finally be freed from the terrible nightmare they endured.